And on the first row, by dint of the best qualifying time of 1:43.845, is Bob Breton, his new hometown of San Francisco, California, sponsored by CSR Performance. And just as yesterday, right next to him in second position is Todd Harris out of Portland, Oregon with Pro Drive Racing.
Looking back at row number 2, we've got Umberto Maletti out of Hillsboro piloting the number 34, and next to him, boy, did he have a good qualifying session. Number 53, Michael Boyle out of Santa Clara, sponsored by HSE Racing and Donata Realty.
And in row 3, Steve Fogg out of Westland, Oregon, sponsored by Lisa Alex and Emily Racing, and also by Pro Drive. Right next to Steve is number 7, Bill Jordan out of Rough and Ready, California.
Looking back at row number 4, we should have Anthony Tobacco. He calls Arinda home by driving the black number 20 on the inside, while Daniel Halloran hails from Portland, Oregon. He's sponsored by the Bank of Karen, and he's got that green and yellow number 58.
And row number 5, number 57 car of Bill Booth out of Cupertino, California. And right next to Bill in 10th spot is Lee Douglas, visiting us from Portland, Oregon, sponsored by Ladco Pipe and Piling.
Looking back at row number 6, that should be Jonathan Allen behind the wheel of the silver and red number 40 on the inside. He calls Laguna Beach home, and he's sponsored by Off Constantly Racing. Starting next to him from San Ramon, sponsored by Premier Auto Service, it's the silver and blue number 01 of Ed Railton.
And in the 7th row, car number 60, the brown and white car of Ricky Lee out of Salt Lake City, sponsored by CSR Performance. Starting next to Ricky is Gary Manchester, visiting from Portland, Oregon, sponsored by Nancy Zieg Interior Design.
Looking back at row number 8, that should be this number 6 of James Boggs from National Park, New Jersey on the inside. Boggs Auto Rebuilder sponsors him. And from Salida, California, sponsored by Cranbrook Group, it's the number 23 of James Davenport.
And a row 9, car 82, white car of Joseph Pratt, making it down from Reno, Nevada after a little bit of truck trouble the other day. Right next to Joe, car number 13 of Michael Keller out of Napa, California, sponsored by HSE.
And getting back to our Group 16 grid, we're looking at row number 10. That should be the blue on blue number 8 of Chris Jackson out of Vancouver. Always sponsored by PT On Call. On the inside and looking to his right, he should see the number 22 of Jerry Kroll. He's out of Vancouver, British Columbia, and he's sponsored by his company, sportmanagement.com.
And our first driver in row number 11 is the red car, number 33 of Rich Kinney, also down from Reno, Nevada, sponsored by CSR Performance. Right next to Rich, the 27 car of Paul Goody, visiting us from Portland, Oregon, sponsored by Pro Drive and Flat Out Racing.
Row number 12 should see Jim Murray out of Bend, Oregon, sponsored by M&M Racing and Pro Drive. He drives number 17 inside of that row. Starting next to him, the black number 41 of Ken Woolley out of Newcastle, sponsored by Instant Office Manufacturing, Inc.
And on row 13, the new color scheme of the 44 car of Bob Gardner out of Sunnyvale, California, sponsored by Fast Company Racing. Next to Bob, the 48 car of Wesley Wilkerson from Reno, Nevada, sponsored by CSR Performance.
Looking at row 14, we got Dave Moore's due to be on the inside. That's car 46 out of Redwood City, sponsored by Myriad Research. And starting next to him, it's Bob Hall, the number 49, out of Sacramento, sponsored by Linda and CSR Performance.
And on row 15, car number 43 of Aiton Zidklov out of Woodbury, New Jersey, sponsored by Boggs Auto Rebuilder. And next to Aiton, car number 95.
The miners of Newcastle, England emerged each day from a terrible twilight. The brave souls empowered an industrial revolution. It was for these men that in 1927 we created Newcastle Brown Ale, which is perfect because nothing sells beer like old footage of people who have it way worse than you do.
M&L Racing, and right next to Seth, number 19 car of Randy Snyder out of Atherton, California.
Looking back at row 18, that's Craig Curtis out of White Rock, British Columbia, driving the number 88. And next to him, the red number 4, Frank Valente. He's from Pyron, and he's sponsored by Frank Valente Real Estate.
And in row 19, Maury Goldstein in that 77 car out of Las Vegas, Nevada, sponsored by CSR Performance. Next to Maury, car 04 of Stephen Pulliam out of Portland, Oregon, sponsored by Kerry Pulliam.
Look back at row 20, that's Denny Wright, the last one to set qualifying times. That's car number 38 out of Portland, Oregon, but we took a look at who was shotgun on the field. Lo and behold, Todd Butler got his number 73 repaired, and he's down from Yamhill, Oregon. So we've got a full grid, 40 cars. Should be a great race. Look over turn number 10, see the lights have been extinguished in the official San Francisco Region Ford Mustang. Anticipate the pit stop, now turning the pace car into the safety car for the remainder of the 25-minute session. Group 16 field, rounds corner turn number 11, heads due south, looks up at the starter, looks like starter Marcia Eulis in the box right now. And she looks down, and we have a green flag start. And the early hole shot was the 02 of Todd Harris. And your attention, paddock, Joshua Fine to race administration. Again, Joshua Fine to race administration. That should be the 01 Group 17 car to race admin. And around the corner, turn number 4, Todd Harris separated by only about a car length between he and Bob Breton, the number 51, as they go underneath the Mother's Bridge, headed for turn number 5. And last of the field comes out of turn number 3, as Todd makes that left-hand turn, heads up to turn number 6, and out of our view.
And as cars coming back into view around turn 9 here at Laguna Seca, it appears that Todd Harris is still in the lead with Bob Breton right behind, followed by Mike Boyle, closely followed by, I believe that's Umberto Moletti, a little bit of glare here in the tower. And coming down the straightaway, followed by Umberto. Looks like the number 21 car out of Oregon, followed by Lee Douglas and Dan Halloran a little bit behind him, and then Bill Jordan as we're going up the straightaway. Leaders are coming out of 2. Looks like Bob's retaking the lead from Todd. Todd's now number 2. And as we're coming out of turn 3, number 21 car, it looks like he's making a little bit of headway there on Umberto Moletti. leaders are still battling for position as they go up the hill in 5, and we have our tail end Charlies coming into turn 3 right about now as our leaders disappear up the hill from view. As cars come back into view here, Laguna Seca in turn 9, looks like Bob has pulled out a little bit of a lead over Todd Harris, and Mike Boyle is just a few cars behind with Umberto right on his tail, and looks like Steve Fogg is closing in on Umberto at this time. Looks like the competitors are strung out nicely. A few battles going on for position, looks like around position 8 through 9. And have a spin down in turn 11, trying to see who that is right now. And that spin was the number 71 car of Jerry A-Class, who continued on. Just looks like he lost a few positions in the process. And as we come out of turn 4 here at Laguna Seca, it looks like positions 3 through 6 are starting to have a little bit of battle on their own while Bob and Todd Harris pull away. Good bit of a gap there. And our leaders disappear from view here in the tower going up the hill, and it's Todd Butler and Randy Snyder and a few other cars are making it around turn 5. Coming back into view here at the tower of Laguna Seca, Bob Breton and Todd Harris are still together, and it looks like Mike Boyle may have, looks like it might have been Umberto Melody moving up a little bit there into 3rd. As a matter of fact, it is Umberto who's broken away from the pack. And a little bit behind them, Steve Fogg, Mike Boyle, and Lee Douglas battling for position. Coming down the straightaway, it looks like Umberto is making good progress trying to catch up to Bob and Todd. And nice battle going between Steve Fogg and Mike Boyle this time. Looks like Lee Douglas has fallen back just a little bit. Oh, and had another car go off down there. Come out 11, come back on course fairly safely. It was the 44 car of Bob Gardner proceeding. Coming into turn 3, looks like Todd Harris is threatening Bob, trying to make sure he's in his mirrors. As our leaders disappear up the hill between 5 and 6, looks like Umberto's made just a little bit more progress. Bob's still in the lead with Todd right behind him. And one of our other Todd Butlers who's had to start in the back today due to not being able to qualify. Looks like he's made up about 5 positions so far, moving in on the next part of the pack. Coming back into view, around turn 9 here, going into turn 10. Looks like Bob started to develop a little bit of a lead, and now we have, looks like Todd Harris and Umberto Maletti starting to battle for 2nd and 3rd. A little bit of a gap all the way back to Steve Fogg. And looks like we had another little off and on down there at turn 11, just a little bit of dust, lost a couple positions, the 07 car, and I believe that's Gary Manchester that just did that. Coming into view here at turn 3, looks like Bob still has a bit of a lead, and Todd Harris and Umberto are starting to do a little bit of a battle there for second and third. And back in the 12th position, 12th through looks like about 15th, got a little bit of a battle going on there between Mr. Davenport, Bill Booth, and a few other cars. Looks like they're going to have a good race going there. Back into view here at turn 9 of Mazda Raceway at Laguna Seca. Still Bob Breton in the lead, just a few car lengths behind. Todd Harris and Umberto Moletti still in third. Good gap all the way back to fourth with Mr. Steve Fogg.
This is the Geordie Schooner. We think it's the best way to enjoy a smooth Newcastle beer, because not only do we get the money from the beer, we also get the money from the schooner.
Last lap, the distance between Bob and Todd Harris was .787, and looks like the best lap time so far of the race has been set by Bob Breton at 1:44.177. As the leaders disappear up the hill between turn 5 and 6, looks like it's holding steady with Bob Breton in the lead over Todd Harris and Umberto Moletti right behind. Coming out of turn 3, looks like Rich Kinney just made a pass on Jerry Aplas and our very own Seth Reid right on Jerry's tail going into turn 4. Back into view at turn 9, Bob, Todd, and Umberto fighting in a train. Looks like Umberto's lost just a little bit of distance in the back area. Oh, we got two cars off course up there in turn 9, a little bit too far for us to identify at this point. One appears to be coming back on track. Oh, and looks like another one trying to avoid it. Can't identify that gentleman either yet. But the good news is the one that just spun, one of the other ones that just spun, is also continuing on course apparently with taking no damage. And coming out of turn 3, going into turn 4, looks like Todd is really trying to threaten Bob Breton again, going into 4 there. A little bit of one tire off. Cars that was involved in the incident up at 9 was the 07 car of Gary Manchester. Looks like he's bringing it into the paddock and the end of the race for him today. And here in turn 2, looks like Seth Reid spun on the exit of turn 2, but he's making it safely back on course as well. Coming into turn 10, going into 11, looks like Todd is keeping himself in his mirrors of Bob Breton. He's definitely making Bob aware of him. And drag race down the straightaway between Bob and Todd Harris, and looks like Bob is maintaining his lead at this point. A little bit of a gap back to Umberto Moletti, and about Probably about 3 seconds back to Steve Fogg, Mike Boyle, and Lee Douglas. And now it's halfway through this race. And at the halfway point, as you know, the leader, Bob Breton, followed by Todd Harris, third position, Umberto Moletti, in the fourth position, Steve Fogg, followed by Mike Boyle in fifth, sixth position, Lee Douglas, seventh position, Dan Halloran, eighth position, Bill Jordan, ninth position, our very own Ed Railton, and in the 10th spot, Jonathan Allen. Coming back into view here, coming in turn 10. Looks like Bob's still just one car length, maybe two in front of Todd Harris. A few more, about 3 or 4 car lengths back to Umberto Moletti, still in third. Much bigger gap all the way back to fourth with Steve Fogg. And coming around turn 11, Umberto decided to try and use the AstroTurf. Coming back into view here at turn 9 at Mazda Raceway, Laguna Seca. Bob Breton is still in the lead by just a car length over Todd Harris, followed by Umberto Moletti about a second behind those. Coming on the straightaway, looks like Todd is maintaining that 1-car distance, trying to keep up with Bob. Looks here sometime in the next lap, like lap track will start to be a factor for the leaders. Looks like Bob and Todd will be coming up on our last car probably sometime in the next lap. And coming up the straightaway, it looks like we're having a little drag race between Bob Hall, Bob Gardner, and Bob Booth trying to make it on the outside. And looks like we have somebody spun in the middle of turn 2, trying to figure out who that is right now. And coming into turn 3, it looks like Bill Booth is trying to make his move on Bob Gardner. And it is side by side, and they're going to stay that way all the way through to turn 4 at least. And the one gentleman that spun in 2 was Paul Goody there. And coming out of turn 4, looks like Bill has successfully completed his pass of Bob Gardner. And coming into turn 11 now, Bob and Todd close together, and hopefully it looks like they'll be passing lap traffic on the straightaway rather than a turn. And the difference between Bob and Todd as they came across the line was .559. And coming out of turn 2, they are just 5 car lengths behind the last car up. I believe that was Denny Wright. Coming out of turn 4, Bob and Todd are right on Denny's tail. And looks like they are passing him. Looks like he's moving over to stay out of the way of those two fighting. As our cars came back into view, it looked like Bob and Todd had passed some more traffic, but unfortunately it looks like Maury Goldstein is retiring for the day. And we have a turn down here, turn 11, spin down in turn 11, sorry about that. Umberto Maletti, looks like he just lost a few positions, putting him back on track. So far, looks like he's making it back in 5th or 6th position. And the last time by, Bob had pulled out his lead to .816 of a second as the leaders are going into turn 3 now. And moving back a little bit, 3rd through 4th position, starting to have a little bit of a battle going on there. Looks like Umberto is be battling with those folks for a little bit. Minutes remaining in the race at this time. Turn 10, looks like Bob's still a good, at least a half a second in front of Todd. Todd's falling back a little bit, and there is a huge gap to the 3rd position car of Steve Fogg. And coming here on the straightaway, looks like Mike Boyle has just passed Umberto Maletti. Umberto probably must have made a little bit of a mistake there coming out of 11. Coming into turn 4, our leaders, Bob Breton and Todd Harris. Todd's remaining a respectable 3 car lengths back, just holding position, and looks like about 4 or 5 seconds back to our 3rd place car of Steve Fogg at this point. And we have someone looping the car coming out of turn 11. It looks like Bill Booth, unfortunately. And Bill Booth is continuing on at this time, having lost about 4 or 5 positions. coming into view at turn 9 here, Mazda Raceway, Laguna Seca. Looks like Bob and Todd are still battling it out. Looks like Todd may have moved up just a hair while he was in the back area.
The miners of Newcastle, England emerged each day from a terrible twilight. The brave souls who powered an industrial revolution. It was for these men that in 1927 we created Newcastle Brown Ale, which is perfect because nothing sells beer like old footage of people who have it way worse than you do.
The new race leader is Todd Harris. Steve Fogg quickly approaching Bob, and can he make the pass before turn 4? Coming into 5, it's quite a battle between Bob Breton and Steve Fogg, and from this distance can't tell who. It looks like it might be Bob in second. And we have another car off in turn 11, looped it there, and trying to get an ID on that car at this point. Looks like it's... That's number 95 car of Court Cardinal. He's continuing on safely, just having lost a few positions. Start-finish line, the new leader, Todd Harris, on the last lap. And we have a big, huge gap all the way back to Bob is holding second position, followed by Steve Fogg. Lee Douglas, Mike Boyle with Umberto Maletti right on his tail, trying to make a pass as we go up the straightaway, and we'll find out in a second if it was successful. Coming back into view, coming out of turn 2, looks like Umberto Maletti has successfully completed the pass over Mike Boyle. Just having come around turn 11, will be the first person taking the checkered flag today is Todd Harris. And looks like about a 10-second gap back. The second car taking the flag today, car number 51 of Bob Breton, followed by Steve Fogg. And coming into turn 11, we have another pass. Can't tell whether that's lap traffic. We'll see what it is as they come by. And apparently over in turn 5, looks like Umberto Maletti is off course, needing to tow in. drag race there between Bill Booth and the number 46 car of Dave Morse, and looks like Bill couldn't quite pull it off there. And on this last lap, I have another spin down there at turn 11, trying to get an idea on that car at this point. And continuing on course, looks like he's not going to have lost a position at all. Looks like our own Ed Railton. And sorry about that, that's the 4-3 car of Hayden Zidkloff.
Let's go ahead and send another call out, a second call out for group number 14. You'll get us back into qualifying mode. That is Formula Ford, Club Ford, Formula V, Formula 500, Formula First, and Formula Continental.
And the unofficial results of the race 1-6 of the Spec Racer Fords this weekend, the second of 3. First place position, Todd Harris, followed by Bob Breton in second. Third position, Steve Faw. Lee Douglas, fourth position. Excellent job by Mike Boyle in fifth. Ed Railton in sixth. Jonathan Allen, seventh position, followed by Bill Jordan in the eighth position. Ninth position, Jim Davenport. And our last top 10 person, Dan Halloran, and that is unofficial.
And we want to thank Rod Simmons for coming up and providing the play-by-play on this last race, the Group 16, since he is a seasoned veteran behind the wheel of the Spec Racer Ford number 38. Also, we want to remind all Spec Racer Ford Festival, there will be a raffle and drawing at 10:30 this morning over at the CSR Performance trailer. All Spec Racer Ford drivers are invited. Again, there will be a Spec Racer Ford Festival raffle and drawing at 10:30 today over at the CSR Performance trailer. Over and say hi to Rick Herr.